Congressman, I sound almost like jealous, like you were there and I didn't have a chance to be. Is that the impression you're getting? Maybe it's a little of that going on.
Yeah, it was actually, I mean, the ceremony was beautiful and it was great, but there were a lot of disappointed people. You know, the members of Congress have so many tickets to dole out for the inauguration.
Yeah.
My son was up. My wife was up. They didn't have the opportunity to be a part of the inauguration. It was only members, senators, cabinet members, family members of the president. The rotunda is a pretty small space.
Yeah.
I was actually surprised they were able to get that many people in there. It was a great ceremony. The president did a great job. I thought his inaugural address was spot on. I love the fact that when he said things like there are only two genders, however, Republicans stood up and clapped, and the Democrats that decided to show up sat seated because apparently Democrats can't even clap to the fact that there's only two genders, which shows you how far left and crazy the Democratic Party has fallen.
How cool. I'm going to say cool because that was my impression. To do that and say all of these things and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are sitting right behind you. Like, because you know the mandate's there. You know what the American people think. He's said it. He's talked about it. We had the election, right? So when you do that and you say that in a conference and then they're sitting in the back there and you know they're, it just feels good. I don't know. All the things that are coming, right? We could speak to that real fast.
Well, yeah, and the decline of America is over, he says, and then the golden age of America is beginning while Joe Biden, his wife, Kamala, her husband, the Clintons are behind them, Barack's behind them, and watching kind of their facial expressions of all of the things that Trump talked about in his speech. The only time I saw them stand up and clap was when President talked about the hostages being returned from Hamas, which would not have happened but for the fact that President Trump said, there's going to be hell to pay in the Middle East if these hostages aren't returned. They sat there for 470-something days. I think we're maybe up to 480 now. We still have hostages. We still have 4 American citizens who are being held hostage by Hamas, and we're almost 480 days in, and the Biden administration during that entire period of time did absolutely nothing to bring them back. And a simple threat from Trump that there would be hell to pay got a deal put in place, and people are getting returned to their families.
Yeah, no doubt. A lot of change coming, a lot of good things on the way. People believe it, and even some things that have taken place. You know, people talking about the Disaster Relief Act, and maybe you can get into that a little bit because the minute it happened and the minute I knew about this, I knew I wanted to have you on the program to talk about it and other things as well. But maybe you can discuss that a little bit.
Yeah, this isn't just a win for Southwest Florida. This is a win for America. Any American that's been in a federally declared natural disaster area is now going to be able to deduct their expenses from their taxes for that tax year from their federal income taxes. I think just to my district, just to Southwest Florida, because of Ian and Irma and Idalia and Milton and Helene, is hundreds of millions of dollars. It goes back to February of 2021 and is prospective into February of 2025. So anyone that is watching or listening that had any damages of any of those hurricanes during that period of time, you can deduct those expenses from your hurricane. If it was Hurricane Ian in 2022, you'll have to file an amended return to be able to claim those deductions, but you'll be able to do that and do that for each one of these storms, which is a huge thing for Florida. And part of that is also the wildfires in California, the wildfires in Maui, the train derailment in Ohio. Every natural disaster in the last 4 years is going to be able to take advantage of this.
Wow. It's so good to hear and so important. And, you know, again, it goes back to the things that we're starting to see that we really believe are going to get done that people have asked you about, and certainly others across the country with regard to this issue, and so many others that we're going to start to see results. One of the other things that I wanted to talk to you about was the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act, because that's another thing where people have talked about this for a long time, why the left leans in the other direction is, I guess the elections will just prove out to be the answers to the questions as to if that's a good idea to lean into it in the other direction. But maybe you can speak to that as well.
Yeah, the left wants to erase women's sports, and Republicans have been fighting to keep women's sports that Congress put in place back in the 70s through Title IX. Thankfully, the bill passed the House. Senator Thune is going to bring that bill up for a vote in the Senate very shortly. Obviously, they're busy with all of the confirmation hearings and getting President Trump's cabinet confirmed. But I believe shortly after that, because that was one of the first bills sent over to the Senate, they'll start putting pieces in place to be able to have that heard over there, which Chuck Schumer wouldn't allow it to be heard, and President Trump would obviously sign it. For the first time in my years of working on this, we had 2 Democrats vote for the bill and 1 Democrat vote present. So it's now a bipartisan supported women's sports bill that'll move to the Senate. And you're right, the American people spoke on this. This is an 80% issue. President Trump was very clear that biological men have no business in women's sports. And I do believe that that was a lot of people who voted in this last election. One of the reasons why they voted for Republicans and voted for Trump was they think it's absolutely ridiculous that a biological man is in their daughters' locker rooms and playing them in volleyball and women's volleyball. So I'm happy and honored to be able to move that through the process. Look forward to the Senate very quickly bringing that up for a vote, and hopefully that will move to President Trump's desk.
Yeah. Before we go, we got about a minute, and listen, it's just the 2 of us talking, me and you. That's it. It's just us. So I got to ask you, how does it feel when it comes to the left in D.C.? Did they get it? Are you talking to anybody in the halls where it's like they're kind of licking their wounds after the election, so to speak? Like, man, there was a mandate. Like, they kind of feel like maybe there's something up here as far as where they stand on the issues, or they just full steam ahead?
So behind closed doors, they'll tell you that, like Trump overwhelmingly won, their district or won their state or wherever the case may be. And they know that the American people are moving to Republican positions on things. They just don't vote that way because they are deathly afraid of their far left progressive wing of their party primarying them in these different races. You had only 2 Democrats think that biological men don't belong in women's sports. Every other Democrat voted against that. Yeah. So every other Democrat thinks it's okay for a biological men to be in your daughter's locker rooms. And that just tells you how far and how scared they are from the progressive left wing of their party.
Yeah. All right, Congressman, I love seeing you, and we need to do this again soon. So please don't be a stranger. All the best. We'll see you. God bless.
All right, see you. You too.
You take care.